In 1997, Apple was dying. Market share, destroyed. Stock price, plummeting. Employees, jumping ship. The company that invented personal computing was worth less than a used car lot. And then, Steve Jobs walked back through the door. What happened next will shock you. Welcome back to the Capitol. Today we're covering one of the greatest comebacks in business history. Not just a company recovery, a complete resurrection. In the next 10 minutes, you'll learn how Steve Jobs took a company that was 90 days from bankruptcy and turned it into the most valuable company on earth. This is a masterclass in strategy, timing, and reinvention. It's 1997. Apple is in crisis. Just 6 years earlier in 1991, Apple was the darling of Silicon Valley. Market share was climbing, the Macintosh was revolutionary, Steve Jobs' vision was becoming reality. But then Jobs was pushed out of his own company by the board of directors, and they brought in John Sculley, a former Pepsi executive, to grow up Apple. Sculley didn't understand computers, he didn't understand innovation. What he understood was cost-cutting and quarterly profits. Over the next 6 years, Apple released product after product that nobody wanted. The Newton, the Pippin, various Macs that tried to compete with cheaper PCs. They were spending billions on R&D but getting nothing in return. By 1997, the numbers were catastrophic. Market share had dropped from 17% to just 3%. The stock had cratered. They were burning through $1 billion in cash per year. They had maybe 90 days of runway left before bankruptcy. The company that invented personal computing was going to die. In August 1997, Steve Jobs made a dramatic return to Apple as interim CEO. The board was desperate. They'd tried everything else. Now they were willing to bring back the guy they'd fired. But here's the brilliant part. Jobs didn't immediately try to transform Apple into something else. Instead, he made a shocking move. He went to his biggest competitor, Microsoft. At a Macworld Boston conference in front of thousands of Apple fans, Bill Gates appeared on a giant screen. Gates announced that Microsoft was investing $150 million in Apple. The crowd booed. They thought Jobs had betrayed them. But it was genius. Why? Because it signaled to the entire tech world that Apple wasn't going bankrupt. If Bill Gates was investing, Apple must have a future. The stock immediately jumped, investors gained confidence, the cash crisis was over. But Jobs didn't stop there. He made 3 critical moves. Move 1, he killed the bloat. Apple had dozens of product lines that were hemorrhaging money. Jobs killed 80% of them. He took the company from offering 350 different Mac models to just 4, a laptop and a desktop, in consumer and professional versions. This seemed crazy at the time, but it allowed the company to focus, to innovate, to build quality instead of quantity. Move 2, he brought in new talent. He hired Jonathan Ive, a young design genius who would become his creative partner. Together they started asking, what if computers didn't have to look like beige boxes? What if technology could be beautiful? This obsession with design would define Apple forever. Move 3. He created a new product category. In 2001, Apple released the iPod. It wasn't the first MP3 player, but it was the best. It was beautiful. It worked perfectly with a new iTunes store. Suddenly, Apple wasn't competing in the crowded computer market anymore. They'd created an entirely new category, and they dominated it. Here's what happened next. 2001. iPod launches. It's a hit. 2007. iPhone launches. Apple enters the phone market and disrupts it completely. 2008. App Store opens. A new economy is born. 2010. iPad launches, another new category. By 2010, Apple was worth $200 billion. By 2020, over $2 trillion. Steve Jobs went from being fired and humiliated to building the most valuable company on earth. And he did it by coming back with a clear vision, making hard decisions, and focusing on what mattered. What can we learn from Apple's comeback? Lesson 1. Focus beats diversification. When Apple cut products, everyone said they were making a mistake, but focus freed them to innovate in the areas that mattered. Lesson 2. Design matters. Before Apple, companies thought design was a luxury. Jobs proved it fundamental. Beauty and function aren't optional, they're essential. Lesson 3. A crisis can be an opportunity. Instead of being paralyzed by bankruptcy, Jobs used it to completely reinvent the company. Lesson 4. Believe in your vision even when nobody else does. In 1997, nobody thought Apple would survive. But Jobs had a vision of what computers could be, and he stuck to it. Apple went from bankruptcy to becoming the world's most valuable company. That's not luck, that's vision, focus, and relentless execution. This is the capital. Subscribe for more comeback stories. Next video, we're breaking down how Airbnb survived near death and became worth $100 billion.